We're live.
Hey, Justin off.
What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to Deck Talk Podcast. And man, we have got a killer on, and man, we've been looking forward to this since Tulsa here at the beginning of this year. And but guys, if you don't know, I'm Colin Burnett.
That's right, Colin. And I'm Norman Lee. But you know what? First things first, we have to take care of some business once again. For the sponsor of tonight's episode, this episode is brought to you by Spear Point Performance Hooks. Hooks proven and tested to put more fish in your boat. Using their V-grip technology, Spear Point hooks will perfectly present lures and provide the most secure connection between hook and fish, giving you the ability to help prevent fish from shaking off. Spear Point hooks are designed to perform and trusted by anglers across the world. Make sure to take full advantage of their incredible Christmas special from now until December 31st. Go to www.spearpointperformance or spearpointhooks.com and use promo code Mary40 and receive 40% off on your entire online order. Again, that's spearpointhooks.com and use promo code Mary40. Man, that is right, Colin. We have one heck of a guest tonight. We've been looking forward to him for quite some time. But anyway, let's try to give this man the proper introduction he well deserves, and let's just roll with it, man. All
Let's
right.
go.
Our guest tonight, well, let's just start off by saying this is one of the greatest stories in professional bass fishing history. From sacrifice to determined drive, paying many dues along the way in order to reach his ultimate dream of becoming one of the top role models in the sport. Qualifying for the elites through the opens in 2021, he racked up 23 top 30s, 15 top 20s, 9 top 10s, 1/3, and this past March he reached the pinnacle of professional bass fishing as he went wire to wire, winning the 54th annual Bassmaster Classic through perseverance, dedication, sacrifice, and most importantly, a family who stood by him every step of the way from the early struggles to the highest of highs, one of the top pros on the Elite Series. Guys, it is Hamner time, the pride of Northport, Alabama. Let's roll tide with Justin Hamner.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Introduction. I like that.
each week he'll ask me. He said, "Am I getting closer to Mercer?" I said, "You're getting closer. You're getting closer. You're a lot closer than you was when we started this deal." So.
I only got tongue-tied once tonight, so I do tell you though, that roll tide deal there at the end. You know I must love you, Justin, because all my Florida faithful is going to be out. You don't know how many texts I'm going to be getting tonight saying, "What are you doing?"
Welcome to it.
Yeah.
Join on in. It'll be worth it, I promise.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I mean, well, it's going to be, since we're kind of talking about football, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if old Belichick is going to be able to pull Saban in on top of this Tar Heel magic that they're doing.
Oh yeah, how about that?
That would be crazy.
Oh my gosh. Is it confirmed he's going?
Yeah. A 5-year deal. And what's crazy, I was talking to a buddy of mine and I was listening to, I think it was the Pat McAfee show about it. And part of his contract says after his 5-year term or whatever he decides to quit coaching, that the next head coach is going to be his son. And I'm over here thinking like, man, how would you like to be his son and be like, the only way I got a head coaching job is because my daddy had it in his contract.
I tell you what, I never seen that one coming. Could you imagine Bill Parcells sitting in the living room of a high school kid trying to recruit?
Belichick?
Yeah, Belichick.
Joe Belichick.
Could you imagine that?
He won't do it unless it's some
that.
5-star guy that he's really wanting. That's the only way he's getting out of there.
Is
But
he going to North Carolina because his girlfriend's attending there?
It may be. He very well may.
Uh,
That's in the fine print of the contract is what that one
Yeah,
was.
yeah, there's some
uh,
fine in there, all right.
that's funny.
yeah. So so
Um,
man, you have had one heck of a year. And I mean, you had what they had two tournaments out, and I mean, then you had the classic, and I mean, the classic. I Norman and I were there. We go and we're part of the media and stuff for Bass, and we so we're sitting there, we're cheering you on because one, we got mutual sponsors with Spear Point, so we're like, heck yeah! So we're doing video, shooting video for them to where we can do our part with them, and so we're rooting you on. And I mean, it was just to me. I've been to four different classics, and when that whole time, every time. I mean, we seen you in Knoxville. You've always been one of the most humblest person out there. Um, and it seems like you've got it all together. You may not have it all together. I know that last day you told Mercer that your nerves were shot, and I mean, you said
yeah,
just get this done with. But
yeah,
you've always been nice and cordial to us, and so but this year that you had with winning the classic and how you won the classic when the weather really was not for being able to get the big bags like you had got during the classic, and we had your travel partner Patrick on, and he was saying just, I mean, he said he's like, guys, he said I was out there hunting, and he said Hamner and I were talking back and forth and trying to figure things out, and he said I found something during practice, and then we just kind of bounced stuff off, and he says, I don't know what in the world Hamner was doing, but when he had he had it going, and he said, I just had to let him just go. And so, baby, we got congratulations on the classic. And I mean, but then congratulations on the rest of the year that you had. I mean, you had one heck of a year. It was a phenomenal just to be a fan of fishing in general. It was a blast to watch this year and watch you grow this year. I think you took a big leap, not just because you won the classic, but you could see the style of your fishing and kind of seeing that there was something that clicked in you this year that made that next step. You probably went a couple of steps up, but it just seemed like it was maybe more of a determination that I'm going to get this done and I can get it done. I can fish with these guys. And to this year, you proved that you done it.
yeah. There was no doubt. There was a confidence that just, I mean, it was out of this world. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing stopping me, and I mean it. Yeah, I've said this several times, but like last May is when I really finally fully committed to the fishing. You know,
Yep.
before then I was still doing the lawn care stuff when I'd get home, and you know, just ha- finally being able to be done with that, it made such
Yeah.
a difference. And if you look back from like whatever May of last year, I mean, it's been a good run, but it just proves
Yeah.
that being all in and as much time you can be on the
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
it just gives you that
Exactly.
confidence.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. That was going to be one of my questions is have you had to cut a blade of grass since the classic? Because that was one of the things you said when you was getting the trophy. You said, I'm not cutting another blade of grass in my life.
Well, see, the problem is I was trying. My yard's too big to do all concrete, so I did have to cut it again. But if I could, but I'd have concrete all whatever 12 acres out here. Uh,
So, I do. We do want to talk about the classic, Justin, and if you can uh, kind of break it down, because from day one to day two, like day one, there was not hardly any wind
Yep.
and stuff like that. So then you had day two, you had that front move in, you had a little bit of rain, but that wind picked up tremendously from day one to day two. So what was it that you done? Were you able to do the same thing from day one to day two, or were you able to stay on those fish, or what was the adjustments if you had to make an adjustments?
Yes, I had to fish completely new water. Like the day one, I caught them all basically in this one little creek arm. It's a lot deeper creek arm. It was like colder water. That was, I
Right.
think, one of the biggest keys. It was all like pre-spawn. They weren't even, I don't think, thinking about pulling up to spawn yet. So they were
Mm-hmm.
still in that mode where the weather doesn't affect them as much.
Right.
Those fish that are pulling up trying to spawn, one little thing happens and they pull off and they get so hard to catch. And I did not want to chase that bite. So I didn't go for that super shallow. I found the deepest pockets and creeks and stuff I could find. And but yeah, day one, like you said, the wind was actually, I mean, there was pretty much none. There was bait
Right.
all in there, but not like crazy thick. Then day two, I thought I was going to smash them, like because the wind was blowing directly into that creek. I was like, okay, wind's
Heck
going to be
yeah.
blowing in here, shad's blowing in here. Well, that happened, and those fish, instead of being relating to the structure and stuff, all pulled out to the middle, and I mean, just going through the bait and everything, and I could not get them suckers to bite for nothing.
Oh
If I'd had like a rig or something, maybe they could have got
man.
dumb, but yeah, I could not get them to bite. So I had to. I mean, I caught a few, got a limit out of there. I think maybe one of my good ones, but I left that and went to an area over at Horse Creek where I knew I
Okay.
had some brush piles and stuff, and so I went and fished that afternoon. Ended up catching like 2 5 pounders, like another close to four, and I mean, completely turned my day around.
Yeah.
With that.
Now, how different was day going into day one once you got out on the water and started fishing? How different was it when the tournament started compared to what you had found during practice? Was it a big change, a big swing, a big adjustment you had to make, or were you able to actually use the stuff you found in practice rolling into that day one before you had to make adjustments?
Yeah, I completely. So I forget the name of it. I think it's like Honey Creek or something like that. That's where I
Right.
was planning on spending the majority of my tournament. And I don't know, whatever reason, because I didn't do that great in practice, like at all. Like a 3 pounder, I think I caught 2 3 pounders in practice. But I had that one creek down there. I saw on one treetop, one followed my jerkbait that looked like a big one, and I
Yeah.
pulled it away from it in practice. I was like, that's the only like true big fish I saw in all the
Right.
practice. I'm like, let me just go check that creek, and I think I caught like a 2 pounder in there. Let me just go check that first. And I pulled in there and I just slowed down and I picked everything apart, and it just everything started clicking. Then the light bulb went off. There was way more fish in there than I realized, and
Yeah.
that was the key, was slowing down. Other guys were
Yeah.
fishing that area and they'd fly through there,
Yeah.
square bill or something up shallow.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had to slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what Patrick said was if he was to go and fish that classic over again, uh, the main thing that he learned from it was he should have slowed
Yeah.
down a whole lot faster than what he
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and
He said he went
to
way
be
too
able to pick it
fast.
apart. Yeah, and so,
Yeah,
um, but when because when what was it last year when, in Knoxville Classic um, was your first classic, and did you have the nerves or where you kind of, all right, it's just a tournament, um, or uh, it's just
Mm.
another day out, and I mean, in the on the job, just let's
Well,
just get it.
the Knoxville,
And
the
was there
Knoxville,
nerves?
the Knoxville
I know,
Classic.
but
I
when
don't think you weren't,
Yeah,
you didn't make
it was
that one. It was the one
Hartwell.
before. Yeah, Hartwell. You made
Hartwell,
you missed Knoxville.
That's
right?
right.
Okay, okay, yeah. So from the first classic to the second classic, was the nerves? Was it there, or was it? Or did you? Were you kind of? All right, I know I'm at the classic, but once the light comes on, let's just go. And or or was it because most of the guys that we talk to about the classic, they say I got that little jitter up until Mercer sends us on. Once Mercer sends us on and that foot's in that throttle, it's game time. And so with you, was that nerves there during the
Mm.
classic, or and that's one
There
thing.
was,
Like,
yeah, there was not. I don't know why. Like there was none until about 1 o'clock on that final day. That's when I started getting a little nervous. Like, cause even on that final day, like I was planning on going fishing one area, and I knew it was going to be kind of windy. I was hoping it was protected, and it was like, I mean, they were white capping in there. I
Yeah,
couldn't even hold it on the trolling motor. So I was
yeah,
like, okay, well, I got a place that's protected that I
yeah,
literally saved for that final
yeah,
day because it had been protected from the
yeah.
wind. Hadn't gone there all week, and go pull over there, and the guy that was Adam that was in second was sitting right there. I was like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god,
That on the last day, Justin, talk to us about that last 1 pound call that really was the determinant factor for you winning the classic,
right,
literally on your last cast. Now, a lot of the videos that's out there and the highlights of that fish catch doesn't kind of really show prior to it, kind of the backstory, but you had one of the commentators for Bass that does the interview with you on the ride in.
yes,
Just hop in your boat prior to you setting the hook, and none of the videos actually shows that or talks about it. They show him in the passenger seat when you're, dropping the fish in your live well and trying to get that
yeah,
call out of there. But tell us the backstory of that fish, because that fish literally was the fish that actually won it for you.
yeah. So, like coming in, um, my camera guy, he was leaning over. He's like, "Hey, Robbie Floyd's gonna jump in the
Yeah.
boat at the bridge and then ride in with us." I was like, we do have to idle under that bridge. I was like, so yeah, I'll slow down there to idle, pick him up, but he better make it quick, like, because we're coming.
Yeah.
yeah,
We don't have a whole lot of time, but I'm going to try to make the most of it. So I picked him up, and it was like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, or something like that when I picked him up at that bridge before I had to be in, and picked him up, and he's just talking to me and trying to interview. I'm like, man, we got like 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Just hold on. He's like, all right,
yeah.
have you fished here before? I was like, never seen it before. Looks like a good little stretch. It just pulled over right there, and yeah, that you saw what happened after that. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty
Now,
wild.
That's incredible. Incredible.
now, now, what was it like um, to have like you? Most people, when like if they're just watching it on TV, they may not realize y'all had a 90-minute drive to the ramp and then a 90-minute drive back to the ramp. What
Yeah,
was on that final day? What was going through your mind during that 90-minute stretch? Because you're finally able. The classic's over. You're finally able to breathe and finally kind of maybe able to relax a little bit. What was going through your mind on that 90-minute track back to Tulsa, back to the convention center?
yeah, that was not good. So thank goodness my friend. I had two of my good friends. They drove all the way from Alabama that morning and met me there at the ramp. I was like, one of y'all's got to drive me because I can't do this, you know. And it was actually more nerve wracking on that drive back. I mean, I talked to Adam and all the other guys, and they were telling me that, but bass fishermen are all liars. Can't trust them. So, I mean, up until I was sitting backstage and I heard his weight get called out, and then I knew, okay, I just won the freaking classic,
Yeah.
and that might be why everybody out like, man, I figured you'd be balling because I'm a crier. I ain't scared to admit it, but yeah, when I heard that weight get called out backstage, man, I lost it back there,
Yeah.
and that
And
was a special moment.
yeah, you're talking about being emotional and all, and I'll tell you a little backstory. Of course, we're sitting in the flagged off media section, which is kind of right there, floor level, front row seats to it all. And we had Randy Howell on about a month and a week ago or something like that. And we're talking to Randy about the classic and your win. And I told Randy, I says, I don't tell this to too many people, but I kind of lost my man card right there because as soon as you hoisted it and watching your family and the emotions that just started all of a sudden pouring out of you because it just goes to show when you're on that stage and you're and anybody that wins it for that matter, but you're on that stage and just all the emotions of all the hard work that comes out, all of your family that's been there by your side the whole. And I'm an emotional person too. It doesn't take much to make me tear up, and I tear up more for others like yourself than I do when something happens for myself. And I luckily I had my sunglasses on in that arena because yeah, I started tearing up pretty good, trying to hide it from everybody around me. But yeah, it was just a sight to behold, watching, and that just really goes to show how much it really means, and how that
Yeah,
hard work and your story alone, every angler out there on tour has their own story. And that's why at the beginning of your intro I put, possibly one of the greatest stories in the history of professional bass, just because the way that you actually made it with your family right there by your side. But I mean, your first early years, even your first year on the elites, you were living in a tent on the road eating PB&Js. You couldn't get a hotel. You couldn't go out to dinner. And
that's awesome.
there's a story that you had mentioned. I think your first open you ever fished when you first started fishing opens to try to qualify, digging through change in your back seat trying to find enough to buy a hamburger, and you had a really bad event, your first event ever in the opens. And it just goes to show that you never lost the passion to keep yourself going, and that drive was there. And you finally made that dream come alive, dude.
Yep, and that's where all the emotion comes from.
Yeah,
Between
yeah,
that, like just the stuff putting my family through it. My wife, uh, she must be dumb to be putting up with me for all this. And thank God that it paid off
yeah,
because
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean that's truly what me and her. We've been together since I was 14.
yeah,
High school sweethearts. Just and she knew that this was something I wanted to do one day, but the timing of it might not have been the best because I've quit my job with university like um, actually the week that we were having our first kid, um, and basically just so I kept that job just so we could have insurance while she was pregnant and helping
Pregnant.
to deliver the baby. And then, but from then on, it was me chasing after this crazy, crazy dream.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to realize it and actually do it is so.
yeah,
I mean, it's one thing for me, my selfish side of yeah, I won the Bassmaster Classic, but now to be able to provide for my family,
yeah,
it that
yeah,
Yeah. And that's what everybody's dream is is to be able to provide for their family um, and being able to provide for their family, also being able to do what they love. It
yes,
means a whole lot to. I mean, that's the world, and to see you talking about it on the stage at the classic and stuff, and was just phenomenal. I mean, it was heartfelt, and I mean, I think everybody in that arena was shedding some tears for you because they were. I mean, it it was one of those classics to me that in Knoxville, like everybody was able to go to the launch and stuff like that and see all that because it was so close. It was, I mean, literally you could walk from where they launched to where y'all came in at Thompson Bowling Arena. But when they with being in Tulsa, and then also next year, I mean, again, you got 90 miles or 90 minutes to, and then also here in Fort Worth, you're going to have another 80, 90 miles that you're going to have to travel. And, but the, I, what got me again was just the humbleness that you have. And I talked to Patrick about it, and he's like, man, that's just Hamner all the way. I mean, that's who he is. That's how he is. And I said, and I was like, but it's good, so good to see that in fishing because you in other sports, a lot of people don't. They kind of get big head over if they won a Super Bowl or won a World Series. They kind of get big head, and and that's what I was telling Patrick was like. It just seems like the the confidence that has just exploded on Hamner, and he's like he's got it, and he was talking about because we talked about bragging rights that y'all have at the house, and he said that uh, that they would make you pick out and get the Airbnb,
Oh crap!
and so what,
That's
and
not good.
so
You know where we're going with this one.
so here goes to the question Patrick wanted us to ask you. He said, or says, Patrick asked us to ask you about booking a shoddy Airbnb. And he says, and just let him answer. So,
Well, which one? That's a tough one.
So there's more than one.
Oh me. Um, Gosh, we've had some bad ones. Look, don't get fooled by these pictures that they put on there. Yeah, there was. I don't know which one's the worst. We had one in Detroit that was like downtown Detroit. That was, I mean, that was not the best idea. Um, the fact that we left there with a boat still, that was a
yeah.
plus. Um,
Well, I mean, the fact that you was able to walk out and it still had wheels was a good thing.
yeah, like anything, like wow, that was a rough one. But my biggest problem is I don't ever get the dates right.
Oh, gosh.
So there was one at Wheeler this year, and I thought I had it booked through whatever, till Sunday, and uh, that ended up not being the case. We were supposed to be out of there Friday, and
Oh,
so I'm on the water. We're fishing a tournament, and my phone, I hear it buzzing in the thing, whatever. But with this tournament, like I got my Apple Watch. If my wife calls, I'll answer because it's an emergency. Other than that, I ain't
right.
paying attention to that thing. And so after the tournament, I look on there and there's like 10 missed calls. And I call number, whatever, and she's like, yeah, y'all are still in the room and the other people are here waiting to get in. I'm like, oh. So we ended up getting her to like say that the air conditioner was broken or something, and it was not a good idea. And we'll just
Yeah,
stop right
and
there.
yeah, and when y'all were at Wheeler, that definitely was not a time to be in a place that did not have any air conditioning because that was
Yeah,
probably I think one of the hottest tournaments that y'all had all year. I mean, we went
I'd
out
be
there.
willing to say that was one of the hottest tournaments that's ever taken place of bass.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was yeah. Because we
uh,
went. We're out of Chattanooga, and so whenever y'all are close to us, we'll make the drive and uh, and head out to go see and do some interviews and stuff. And we went out there, and I was like, "Hey, Norman, they're on Wheeler. It's just, I mean, it's literally like 2.5 hours away from us. Let's head down there. Let's talk to some of these guys." And we got down there early, and so we had all day that we was out there just hanging around. And we were, I mean, it was all we could do. I mean, uh, Mandy was probably like, y'all are drinking up all of our waters. These guys ain't gonna have
yeah,
any kind of water when they get back because we were chugging some water that
Mm.
day.
Yeah, we were
But
we were ducking under the weigh-in line and going right between anglers with bags of fish weighing in, grabbing waters to keep us hydrated. And we didn't even have any. We weren't even on the water all day long.
it was rough. So it was so bad there. There was two crazy things. Well, first of all, like two of the camera guys, like I didn't make it through all 4 days. Which I don't see how they do it, just standing there with that thing on their shoulder all day.
Man,
Not for them. But yeah, Cooper Gallant, he had a jug, like a big jug of water sitting on the carpet of his front deck, and it actually melted the carpet underneath it because I
wow,
guess the sun
that's the
coming through
oh
the
sun
water,
going through the
man,
water.
yeah, like a
Yeah,
magnifying glass. And then I believe
lucky it
it
didn't
was
catch on
John.
fire.
Yeah, exactly. Then I think it was John Garrett. He had one of his graphs actually start to melt,
oh
and
wow,
Wow,
I don't even know how hot that's got to get to melt the plastic, but it did it.
man,
that is, and that's crazy
yeah,
because I know
yeah,
like
that is crazy.
when like we're out on the boat and we're filming, like our GoPros. I mean, they get scalding hot. You can't touch them. You have to unhook them and get them down in some shade, throw them in a cooler or something to cool them off. And but I, Norman and I were talking that wheeler that I couldn't. It was miserable there at the ramp and couldn't imagine because being out on the water, you're not just getting beat by the sun, you're getting that reflection coming up beating you too. And we're like, man, these guys, I don't know. I think I'd have to take that a few minutes at 70 mile an hour just to cool
Yeah.
off.
Actually, you're talking about the GoPros real quick. Get another plug-in for one of our sponsors. We were actually there helping with GoPro that day, and we were actually passing out
YOLO tech.
or YOLO Tech. Sorry,
Yep.
Christian. Yeah, YOLO Tech, and we were passing out sunshades to all the anglers for the GoPros.
Yeah,
Yep.
And it's not. I don't know. Do you run a GoPro, Patrick, or
Uh,
because
that's not Patrick. I mean, they look
yeah.
similar, but that's not Patrick.
Them,
man?
I ain't got those kind of legs.
My brain's about fried. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing and talking about all the heat. Those sunshades that YOLOTech has out. What Colin? They're supposed to keep them like 30% cooler to keep
Yep.
them
Yeah.
from overheating. So yeah. But just thought I brought that bit of information up, talking about the heat up there with the YOLOTech.
Yeah, that definitely helped out. He was passing them out to everybody.
Yeah,
Uh,
Everybody,
and
yeah,
yeah,
we
that
made
definitely
sure
made
that if you didn't have it, you was getting it put on
yeah,
there.
yeah.
no doubt.
So,
Yeah.
um, so after winning the classic, was there a relief on you to where you could just go out and fish? Because really, I mean, points did matter, but points really didn't matter because you're going back to the classic anyways.
Yeah.
So were you able to just go and fish
Hundred.
how Justin loves to fish because that pressure of all right, I got to get into the classic cut and um, and do you think that kind of helped? I mean, because I mean you was in the rankings for the Angler of the Year, and so do you think that classic win with not having to stress about getting back to the classic, did that help out with just allowing you just to go fish?
No doubt. Yeah, I got to. I was shooting for it every tournament. Like I was going to try to win it, and
Yeah,
it definitely. I mean, it reflected. I mean, I was leading AOI going into the last tournament. So
yeah,
yeah, I was I was going for it. That there was one tournament, the St. John's River tournament, kind of bit me. I made a I made a heck of a gamble on that one. I went a
yeah,
long ways. And first day I was in 102nd out of 130,
Mhm.
and but then I was like, hey, I ain't got nothing to lose. I'm going for it again because that's the only way I can think
yeah.
of a way to make it back.
Yeah.
And ended up catching like one of the biggest bags of the tournament the next day, and
Mhm.
finished like 52nd or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost ended up making the cut. So yeah, that just having that freedom to be able to make those kind of moves and like sticking. I think it was Smith Lake where man, I just stuck a big old bait, big old spoon in my hand. I was like, I know I ain't getting many bites, but if I can get five of them, it'll be the right ones.
Get the right
right,
bites.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
S-
So it was just stuff like that where I didn't have to worry about just filling a limit or, you know,
right, right,
doing good and then working way up. I was killing it with it. So, but that
right
also
now.
taught me like going into next year, I'm going that strategy again because it works a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, because uh, I mean, it works until it don't, and then when it don't, I mean, you really fall
Mhm.
flat on your face. And but what was one of the biggest things that you learned from this year to be able to help you get ready for next year?
Ooh, that was a big one of just the mentality of how I'll approach the tournaments now,
Right,
where instead of trying to find, or I guess instead of going for fish that I know might probably won't win it, but it could probably scrap out a good check,
right,
I I never even fooled with them. It didn't matter if I needed a limit or whatever, a solid limit or not. It was just having that mentality of like I'm going for the five biggest fish
Yeah.
every single day. And it
right.
if you shoot for first every time, usually you'll fall a little bit short of it. You hear people talk about it. If you shoot for that cut line, you're usually going to be
Yeah.
right below it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know what's
yeah, because
above first, but that's what we need to shoot for.
right. Yeah, I just need it to be to when you walk out there to and launch that boat on the first day, just go on and just hand you the trophy is what I need.
I like
And so
that.
Now, how hard is it for yourself to not really pay attention to everybody else and compete against the fish versus, I'm sure you're aware, especially when you're like fighting to make the top 10 and you're way up there in the standings for a tournament. And I know, I mean, it's just human nature. You can't not know or luck to see what the weights of the other guys are. That's right around you, trying to win or trying to make top 10. But how difficult as a professional angler is it to not really pay attention to everybody else, what they're doing, and just focus and fish against the fish instead of trying to fish against the guys that you're trying to win the tournament against?
Yeah, for that was something I had to overcome my first couple years. Um, you know, being concerned of, oh, they're probably catching them like this or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, that was a struggle of mine for sure. But now I do not care. I don't even want to hear any of
Yeah.
that stupid doc talk and stuff. But even as the
right,
tournament starts, you have that in the back of your head, like you
Yeah.
know what it's gonna take, and you can feel when you're having a good day out there, and you know,
right.
it just I don't know, it doesn't even occur to me anymore. I
Yeah.
guess, or I don't even think about it because if I'm not
Yeah,
doing something that I'm mentally, confident in, then I'm just not gonna do good anyway.
Yeah.
So gonna go do what I like to do or
Right.
have something I'm confident in. So
Right. Now, was did the bragging rights in the house, did it change after the classic? Because I mean, old
yeah,
Patrick, I mean, he's hosted up a few century belts. He's hosted up a few blue trophies, and but when you were able to hold up that Ray Scott trophy, now did you just tell him to just sit down and get in his place after that?
the only thing, yeah, right. You ain't telling that
And the one thing I didn't mention too, I meant to put in the
guy.
intro, and I completely dropped the ball on that one. But you also have a century belt as well.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, it's pretty awesome. But no, Patrick, he's an animal. But me and him don't have that. We actually don't have that competition. We don't trash talk each other about fishing. Every single other thing, we are the most competitive. Like, gonna rub it in your face if I beat him. Daggum walking to the door. Like, it
Yeah.
don't matter. But when it comes to fishing, it's so cool how supportive we are for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And like,
I was gonna say too, Patrick. I've known Patrick for a long time, and Patrick's one person that you probably don't want to rub wrong and trash talk too deeply because
he's a
because
big old boy.
yeah, he'll put it to you on the water if you trash talk him too much.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. He'll put it to you on or off the water. I think
Yeah. So,
he, it's so cool being
yeah,
able to do this out with them and his family. Like
oh yeah,
back to what y'all were talking about earlier, when I was, struggling, if I wasn't sleeping in a tent, I was sleeping in Patrick's camper, and his
yeah,
parents were feeding us like every
yeah,
tournament stuff like that,
yeah.
and I can't thank them enough. They
yeah,
even through the opens, I got to go with them, and I always have a place to stay with them and food on the table. It
yeah,
Yeah,
made a huge, huge
yeah,
difference.
yeah.
yeah. That was going to be
We'll
well.
actually, I was gonna say we actually have Todd coming on. Todd's gonna be on in a couple months. We're actually doing a recorded episode with Todd. We're actually recording his episode next Tuesday, and it'll be on probably sometime in February. But yeah, Todd is really a great
Now,
person, and I've said it before too, that Patrick hasn't fell far from the apple tree because his dad is a stud on the water also, you know.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
ain't
Yeah.
no doubt. It's really
So,
cool. Both of them kind of learned together because both of them were such big and like they were really into saltwater at first, and
Yeah.
then they started coming to the bass side. Both of them just put the time in and
Yeah.
learned it together, and it was so yeah.
Yeah.
They're, they can catch them. Don't
yeah,
put on the back of your boat with a Senko. He will wear you out.
Now you said Todd, right? Todd on the back of
Yes,
the boat with
sir.
us. Yeah, Todd on Santee Cooper on his home body water in a Toyota series. Now it was a Costa series back when I fished it, and Todd actually was co-angler of mine, and he ended up winning that event. He actually had the lead on day one, and he was on the back of my boat on day two, and he ended up he stroked him. He on the back of my boat behind me. He just caught him and caught him and caught. And I think he was throwing a Senko then, but
Yep.
he ended up winning that. I didn't make the cut, of course, and I was on the way home, driving home, and I had the live feed on, what listening to it on the way home, the way in, and when I told Todd after this when he was declared the winner on the co-angler side, I'm like I had to pull over off the road because I was high fiving him, fist pumping so hard because I was so happy to see him win, knowing day two he was on the back of the boat, so that was cool to see.
Yep.
yeah.
You catch 'em.
Now we actually ran into Patrick after the classic was over and all the confetti was flown, and uh, in which we knew that y'all were travel partners and stuff like that. But you could tell when he seen us and he stopped us and he's like, I just want to say hey, because we had him actually coming on the following Thursday. He says I'm ready to come on next Thursday. He says, but I gotta go see Hamner and we gotta go celebrate. and at that time you have a lot of the guys that travel together that yeah they're friends. They've traveled together a long time, but at that time I knew that the that was more than just a friendship that you and him have. That's a brotherhood that y'all have, and that's a lifelong brotherhood that y'all have. That I mean, he was just as excited for you winning that classic than if he would have won it himself. He was so stoked at it, and that's what. And the fishing world never ceases to amaze me about how I mean, once you're out on that water, it's game time. We're enemies while we're on the water, but when we come off and the boat's on that trailer, that's when you see friendships kind of happen and stuff. But it was it's phenomenal. I enjoyed. I've always enjoyed watching you fish, and I've enjoyed this year because, like what I was saying earlier, there was something that you hit it. It was a confidence deal that you had, but I knew that there was something that happened this year that you could see a change in you this year to where there was a growth that Justin Hamner went through and he excelled. And it this year was phenomenal just watching you just go out there and just fish and melee people out there.
It was so fun. It was. It was just, and one of my favorite things. Like, I hate fishing a crowd, and one of the funniest things, I don't know, is like every time I be on live, because my dad would always say, he's like, where do you even find this crap? Because everybody's over here, and then they'll pull out the map and have to like zoom it out, and you're like way
So,
over there.
yeah.
Like, that's a
Is
whole,
he even on the same lake?
yeah, exactly. That is what I love more than anything. Just, man, I
Yeah.
love just doing my own thing, get away from all
Yeah.
everybody else. I might not be around the biggest group of fish, but if I have them to myself and I can actually manage them and stuff,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
And that's one
man,
thing
how
that
dangerous that is.
yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that because Norman and I we've talked about it, and like so when they're doing the bass live and stuff, and they show the lake of the maps, and you're right. I mean, you've got everybody is like in like four bunches. You'll see like three or four bunches of where everybody's in a certain areas of it. They have to zoom out to find you and John Cox. Something about the you and John Cox. I mean, y'all are like, y'all not gonna see us. We won't see another boat the whole time. Just leave me alone.
That's what was fun. Yeah, like at Wheeler, I was the one boat. Like nine out of the top 10 was at the Decatur Flats, and then it was like, yeah, he's 50 miles away. I like it.
So how like uh when you're practicing and stuff like that, and I know this is all kind of time management and stuff. Do you like, all right, I really need, I know I've got this fish and I really just need 2 hours at this place. Um, is that how you kind of manage like how far that you are going? Because a lot of people like with me, I want to be able to have the line in as soon as possible and as long as possible. But again, like you are going out, you're getting away from everybody, and um, so how do you like, is it just the fact that you just don't want to be around the crowd? Is that the whole reason of that,
That's probably the
or is it
biggest reason, but also is, yeah, I hate being around people, so I want to get away from them. Yeah, I would love it if it was right there by the boat ramp. That would be
right?
phenomenal. Um, but that ain't gonna happen. So yeah, that's
Mm,
part of. But also, if I find fish and I think that it's worth it, I don't care. I'm going. Like St. Lawrence
right, right.
River, I was running. I think it was 120 something miles one way. Um, it was a haul. So and it was
Yeah.
a haul. Had
Yeah.
like 2 hours to fish.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what was that last classic that Hank Cherry won? I think he burnt maybe a gallon. He was fishing at a that jetty or ripwap along that bridge, right near. I can't remember what lake it was on,
yeah,
but
it
the
was
last one,
right
Hank.
on
Yeah, and I think they said he burnt a gallon of gas probably in the 3 days of the tournament. And he'd wait till no matter what his number was, he'd go out past him, and then he'd just idle back around and wait for everybody to go, and he'd shoot straight across. And it was like within sight of the launch all 3 days. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that was
wish
pretty
I
cool.
could do that more.
So,
Yeah.
what we got a question is it says I have a 14-year-old boy that is getting uh into fishing and wanting to fish in high school. What is a tip that you can give to him that will help him out?
Hmm. So there's a lot with that, but I would say the biggest thing in the high school probably is learning learning new and more techniques on your own. Don't you know? It's phenomenal to go out there and have these some of the boat captains, teach you and show you spots, but don't don't get so caught up into just trying to get waypoints from people and trying to
Right,
learn spots. Spend time, learn techniques, figure out what you're good at, what you like to do, and sharpen those skills
Yeah.
because
right,
that's going to take you further in fishing than any of that other stuff will. I mean
right.
that high school is the time for you to be, you know, you ain't married yet, you ain't got kids, you know,
Be out there.
be out there on the water. I mean, when I was in high school, me and my best friend, we had a little John boat that had the just the clamp on trolling motor and one 12-volt battery. And every day after school, we'd go over there, push that little aluminum boat in, clamp on that trolling motor, and just go around in that little slough. And that was all we had. But it was just we I mean, did so much stupid stuff, but just fishing every single day. We were making our own lures. I remember I made one out of I made it was like a bobber with an acorn top, and I made a popper out of it with a
Hopper,
twig
yeah.
sticking out of the back, you know. But just stuff like that, just being on the water and learning these different techniques and, getting comfortable with all these different baits. You don't have to have a big fancy boat. You ain't got to have.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you can walk around on the bank probably. But it's just
Yeah.
now's the time for you to really just
Yeah.
learn.
Right. Now, what is the craziest thing that you have seen out on the water?
Hmm. Uh, well, South Dakota was pretty crazy. It just everything about like that was I was fishing on the moon. I felt like was it Lake Oahe?
Yeah.
That was a wild place. So when we were there, it was a cow got stuck in the mud and like yeah, because there's so much land and I mean you don't see houses and there was a cow stuck in the mud and I was like I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it, but I mean it was still just sitting there and like there ain't
Yeah.
nobody around and you could tell it was like because they had like the tag or whatever in its ear. It's somebody's cow. And then I came back the next day, and that darn cow was still stuck right there.
Oh,
They had there was some farmers. I guess the farmers it was their cow, and they had done like winched winched it was trying to pull it out of the mud. So that's the first time I've seen anybody winch a cow out of mud. That was pretty wild.
yeah. And being from Alabama and being around to where you've got cattle and stuff that is around you and not seeing that is
Yeah, like
it's
getting
crazy.
stuck in mud is one thing, but this was like he was almost it was touching his belly, like he was stuck. Oh man,
So we we asked. I want to say that it was Ike that we asked that question to, and he says, I don't know what's the craziest thing that I've seen, but let me tell you the craziest thing that I've heard that I know is a legit story. And so we're like, all right. And he said they were fishing in Louisiana. Clifford Perch was going down this bank, and this dude jumped into the water. Have you heard this story?
Yes, I was fishing that tournament. It was actually La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Lacrosse. Okay, okay.
Yep,
Uh,
that's
but
insane.
uh, but so guys, this guy jumped in and was following Clifford was going down. He was trolling, trying to stay away from him, but the guy got to his boat, and what he was the police had arrested him, but took him to the hospital for some odd reason. I can't remember if he
He
said
been
that he was
stabbed.
shot, stabbed, yeah, and part of his guts and stuff were like, oh, his stomach was opened up, and he was trying to get onto Clifford's onto his boat. I think he actually got onto his boat because he about
Mhm.
drowned, and uh, and so Ike was like, "That's the craziest thing I have ever heard."
That was
and so,
insane. Did he? I think he died or something. Maybe in
yeah,
his boat. It was, yeah, that was a bad deal. Like, cause he was trying to leave. He's like, I gotta go to, weigh in. And the police are like,
nope.
got him detained and questioning him and stuff. And gosh, it was just a, yeah, mine wasn't
They didn't
that.
care what if he was fishing a tournament or not.
No,
so,
mine was just a stuck cow. Yeah.
so um, is I know you've got a lot of sponsors and stuff like that. Is there a bait or a product that one of your sponsors is coming out with that you are excited that you probably have already been able to fish with, but the general public is going to be able to fish with next year? Is there some bait that you're looking for, or a product that you're looking forward to being able to utilize for next year?
That you're allowed to talk about right now.
Yeah, that you
Yeah.
can talk about.
So the I don't know how many people remember, but it was the old snag proof Wobbletron. Um, Bobby Barrett, the frog man, that was
Right.
like his baby. And it's basically, just a hollow belly frog with the kicking legs. And, we've seen several companies do it now, but Snag Proof actually remade it. And I mean, it's like identical to that old Wobbletron. And it's called the Zoo Kick. It's part of the, Snag Proof. And that Zoo Kick is, oh my gosh. I was so excited because Bobby was giving me like some samples of like, hey, this is what we got so far, and they're like, yeah, it's not it yet. And I don't know how much time we spent working on that thing, but getting those legs just right,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what makes it different. It's something about that you have to have the right legs for that to actually work because the way that he showed me how to work it, and everybody else just kind of throws it out there and reels it and just has it
Right.
kicking. It's really whenever you start just popping it, kind of like a popping prog or pop or whatever, them legs just buzz real quick, just toot, 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 and then you pause
Right.
it and have them legs right to be able to do that. Gosh, it's killed. And as much shallow fishing we're going to be doing next year,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that thing's going to be crushed.
There's going to be a lot of. So what you're telling me, there's going to be a lot of good top water frog hits that we're going to see on Bass Live from you, then, right?
Yes, like, gosh, that's what, when I saw that schedule, like, okay, I see what they're trying to do, trying to get away from the live scope stuff. It's like, hey, this is Alabama fishing now. Let's go.
Yeah.
I ain't mad about it. I'm ready.
No. I was disappointed though that there was not an Alabama lake on the schedule though. I was
Yeah,
kind of a
that
little disappointed.
hasn't. Yep.
So
I, I, I think, nah, I ain't gonna say what I think. We'll
yeah.
just leave it alone.
So
What lake on the schedule next year are you most looking forward to going to?
Hmm. that I'd be crazy to not say fork. I mean, anytime I get to go to a Texas lake like that, yeah, I
Yeah.
could. Gosh, especially after this year. I mean,
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's where your 111.7 came, right, on fork?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that was the biggest bass ever weighed in on the Elite Series, correct?
No, it was the largest bass caught on live, Bass
Oh,
Live.
Online.
on
Yeah.
Bats Live, I got you.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
insane. That catch was just freakishly insane.
When I hit her, everybody's like, I don't even know how you work a jerk bait to your left or whatever backwards. I was like, whatever. But when I hit it, and it being on that side instead of the normal, it
Did it just stop?
it took me no like because I pulled back into it and took a couple steps, and it took me a couple steps forward.
Oh. Now,
God.
But,
when
whew,
you first got a glimpse of it, of course, I seen the highlight when you're on the back deck and you're kind of on your knee. You first got a glimpse of her. What was your thought process, and did you know that it was going to be over 11, or did you think it was around 10 when you first caught that glimpse of it? Because
yeah, I've
it was
never
insane when you
seen
first seen it on the
yeah,
camera.
it was nut because I've never caught a 10 pounder. And that's what I kept saying all week. Like, I just want to catch a 10 pounder. I've been catching all these eights and nines, whatever. It's like, I can't break that daggum 10 pound mark. And when I saw it come up, I was like, that
There it is.
thing don't even look right. It's so fat. Like that thing, 10. It's got to be. And when I put my hand on it and picked it up, and it's just like that belly, I was like, I don't know, it's 20 pounds at the
Yeah.
time. But I don't know how to judge them when they're over 4.
when when
They're
when
just massive at that after
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
When you weighed it and dropped it in the live well, you said, "Man, I haven't caught a 10 up to this point. Might as well just catch an 11.7. Let's
I
go."
haven't caught a 10. I
Uh,
skipped it right over, I guess. It's fine with me.
yeah,
Oh
he's
man,
like he said, "Screw the 10. Let's just go to
yeah,
11."
let's just catch an 11.7. That was
Might as
insane.
well. What was
So
crazy was that fish, I'd literally seen it. I'd fished that same little pocket, and it's the perfect spawning pocket. I mean, and everybody does know about that. That one is a community hole. But all the other guys, they were coming in there and just going right around the banks. But I'd actually seen that fish sitting on a stump every day. And I was coming in there in the morning times, first thing in the morning, pull in there, and there'd be a few new fish pull in. Well, this one particular stump, she was sitting on it, and she was sitting like halfway on it. I'd cast over there to it. My bait wouldn't even get close to that tree, and it'd go straight to the bottom. I was like, that's a big old carp or something. I'm scaring
yeah,
it. I don't know. And then that final day, I came in the afternoon, and she was sitting on right on top of that tree. And when I threw that jerk bait, I mean, she came off that stump and met it. That's why it pulled me back because
r-
she took off and was going the other way with it, and she was ferocious. It
Like like
finally,
like sitting into the bumper of a Volkswagen going down the highway
yeah,
55 miles an hour.
it was already running.
it's going. Yeah. Now, do you do you like fishing like the Highland reservoirs, or would you rather it be some kind of river system?
Oh, I don't care. I like fishing. Like I literally could not care less.
Right.
I know I used to have a preference, but after traveling the country, I just love seeing new bodies of water.
How about
Right.
tidal water? Any thoughts with
That's
that?
the only one that me and Tidal don't get along sometimes because I have zero experience with it until actually the James River at the Opens. That's the only
Right.
open that I didn't cash a check in. I think.
And and y'all actually have one this year that is somewhat of a tidal fishery. Am
We
I
got
right?
3 tidal fisheries.
Three?
St. John's
Yep.
is tidal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got St. John's, we got the Sabine River, and North Carolina.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That'll
So
be a fun one. somewhere new.
Yeah, because what the BPT I think went to that the North Carolina last year and done pretty decent on that. Um,
Yep.
so
They talked to me.
um, yeah, yeah. So you have a Yamaha, and this is just a kind of a personal question for him, just on my behalf. Uh, so you are with Yamaha, correct?
Yes, sir.
So whenever you go into to have like your boat worked on that travel trailer, um, can you do me a favor? Dan Tucker, give him the biggest hard time that you could give anybody, and then when he asks what's going on, you just tell him it's from me because he's my cousin. So just make sure you give him the biggest hard time and just whine and complain and just make his day miserable for me, please.
There's only one problem with that.
The only pro
Yamaha's don't break.
the only problem is Justin runs a Yamaha, and even your cousin there, Colin, said that his trailer is the least busy out of all of them.
I know. I mean,
So Justin probably isn't going to see
I
him
just
all year because of that
when I
Yamaha.
drive by, I'll stop and just go give him a hard time.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
I mean, even if it's just a bypassing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because I give him a hard time because all he does and is sit out there next to his trailer. He has the door open, the canopy wide open, and he's got a grill going all the time. He's always cooking hamburgers, hot dogs, or steaks, and I'm like, "Are you going to do any kind of work?" And he's like, "This is it." So I was like, man, so next time you see him, just make sure you give him a hard time and tell him that he sucks at hunting and fishing and stuff like that, and because he's a big hunter and and he likes to go up to Canada and smash some walleye and smallmouth up there. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll have to stop by and see him.
oh
Uh,
yeah, so um, we've already had you on for over an hour, Justin. We thank you so much for coming on. So we
yes,
won't
sir.
hold you up too much longer. Um, I want to ask because I know that jerk bait is always tied onto your deck, um, and I want to know like when you tie your jerk bait on, do you tie it like with a little loop knot on it or do you tie the knot to where it's all the way up to uh, where it's tied up, or do you have that loop to where it kind of moves a little bit more?
I'm always using a split ring,
Oh,
so I
okay,
just always tie on the split ring.
okay,
And I mean, most of the jerk baits will come with a split ring. There's a few that don't, but I always tie just to that split ring.
yeah. It,
Um,
right,
ju- it just gives it better movement when
yeah,
you're twitching the bait along because it's almost like it's working on a pivot with the split ring rather than just tied on the eye. Correct?
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's what anything I can get away with, the more naturally it can
Yeah.
move in the water,
Yeah.
the better.
right,
Um, and that I like that. I like the loop knot. I don't like it as much for as far as strength wise because
right,
that's the only downside. So I usually will only use that for when I'm using braid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
um, but it has its moments. But yeah, definitely
yeah.
go split ring as much as possible.
Yeah, because I've talked to a couple other people and about it because to me it's interesting to know like when people put that loop knot on and kind of the reason why they do it and why they just go straight to like with straight to the split ring, um, because to me the jerk bait is a bait that here the past couple years that I have used on in the arsenal more and so that was a kind of a question for me trying to up my jerk bait game too. So
No, you
Now
just throw it with that split ring. You're good to go. Don't
yeah.
overthink.
yeah,
Now the jerkbait's actually your favorite technique, and of course that's why you won the classic with. When you go when you go into an event or just fishing in general, if you're just going out fun fishing or during practice, and you kind of have it in the back of your mind, the jerkbait's not going to be where it's going to be at for this time out. Are you always going to have a jerkbait on? Because my favorite top water is a spook, and you don't throw the spook all year long, but every time I hit the water, I don't care when it is, 12 months out of the year, that spook is going to be tied on. Might not be laying on the deck, but it's going to be in the rod box, so I could grab it in a minute's notice or a second's notice, really, if I needed to. But is that jerkbait something that you're always going to have somewhere in the boat tied on, even if you kind of have an idea you're not going to go to it, just because it is your favorite technique and it's so easy for you to pick up if you wanted to?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm not scared to throw it in places that
yeah,
everybody else will throw it. I mean that,
Right.
and
yeah,
why I think I'm pretty good with it is just how versatile I've made the jerkbait.
yeah,
Right.
Everybody's always put it in a box of only being able to do a couple different things, but no, that thing
yeah,
catches them a lot of different ways.
yeah.
So we're gonna ask two more questions, and but what is your screen setup that you have for this year? Because Bass changed it a little bit on y'all this year to where you can only have so many inches.
Yep.
So what is your screen setup that you're going to have this year?
But I'll have three 12-inch graphs, the Garmin EchoMap Ultra 2s, and then one 19-inch Garmin. And it's, I mean, it's honestly not going to affect me at all. I had the two transducers, whatever, running perspective in one way and regular the other way, and most of the time I never even had that perspective on.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like, it's not going to affect me at all.
Right.
But yeah, that's it's going to be pretty much the same for me.
yeah,
Yeah, and we've talked to a couple people, and some of them they're still scratching their head trying to figure out how they're going to go about it and what screens they're going to go to. And then we've had other guys that's just like you, is like, it's not going to affect me at all.
yeah,
I'm still going to be able to do and see what I need to see and be able to hammer it down. And so,
Mhm.
but it's just with that rule changing and stuff, it's kind of interesting to kind of see how the anglers are preparing themselves for next year. And so, but with that said, we've got over 1,200 people watching right now, and we want to give an opportunity though for you to kind of give yourself a self plug with your social media. How can people find you on social media to be able to follow you if they're not already? Because I imagine after the classic, your follows kind of went through the roof after the classic.
Yeah, thank y'all for that. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, just Justin Hamner fishing across the board: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. About to have another YouTube video drop here in a week or two, so definitely
yeah,
before Christmas. So I'm
yeah,
looking forward to that. But
yeah,
yeah, anytime. I mean, just come to Alabama and follow me. Let's
yeah.
go fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just seen
I get.
that I just seen that video that the real Hillary, Hillary just put up when
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
hit the water with her, and that was a really cool video that she filmed when you guys went fishing together up there in Alabama. Of course, she's at going to Alabama now, fishing on the Alabama fishing team. So that's pretty cool watching that how that goes for her. What she's going to kick some tail up there on the
oh
water
yeah,
with her fishing team. So, but that was a really good video that you guys shot there. I guess a month or so ago. Yeah.
yeah. I
yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, we didn't hardly catch anything, but we had fun trying.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But my grandfather always said a bad day fishing beats a good day working. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what if it's your work?
well, I mean, I guess when the money's on the table, then it just sucks.
Oh,
So,
if you
but
had that grass and concrete.
right, exactly, exactly. So, we do want to say though, real quick, congratulations. We meant to say it earlier.
Yeah,
We did say it when as soon as we before we went live. Congratulations on the baby,
yeah.
and glad to see that that Finn and Mama's doing well. And the little girl was stoked in that picture. Norman said this earlier that your little girl looked like she was stoked about having a little baby boy, and so, um, but guys, I did ask earlier if Finn has already said "Roll Tide," and Justin has confirmed that that was the second words that has said. So, just so it's in the books, Finn is already a Bama fan. So,
Yeah, that ain't no doubt. He might have
just
been
as long as he don't say War Eagles, it's all right.
yeah,
So,
no, that happened. Even my daughter, she hates the color orange. She's right, so
my my nephew, my brother in law is a huge Alabama fan. My nephew, every time he sees orange, he says, That's that nasty orange." That's what he'll. And somebody wearing Tennessee, he'll go up to him and say, "That's that nasty orange."
me and him would get along good.
So, Norman, let's wrap this up,
Yeah.
and we'll let you go on and ask that last question, and we'll go from there, brother.
Yes, sir. And again, Justin, man, thanks for taking the time tonight to come on and just share some of the stories with us. You're a great person to talk to in person or on the podcast, or one of the most humblest persons that me and Colin know. So and good luck in next year, man. You are going to knock them dead out there. We can't wait to follow you all next year and see how this thing transpires going into the 2025 season. But real quick. We'll be live once again next week. Catch us every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week's episode is going to be brought to you by Bruiser Baits. Our guest next week is going to be Elite Series Pro Scott Martin's going to be joining the show next week. It's a show once again, that you're not going to want to miss. But Justin, if you were to have one person to be able to fish with for the day on your boat, and this person could be passed away or still with us, who would that person be that you'd love to fish with for the day, and why would you want to fish with him or her?
Golly, why are you gonna make me cry like that? No, it would be my pawpaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one. It was actually used to be him and my dad and me all in the boat together. And
Yeah.
gosh, me and my dad still talk about it to this day. Just
Yeah.
we used to laugh at him. He'd be all just back there backlashing and up in the trees. I'd always say he was hunting squirrels or something. It was just,
Right.
gosh, yeah, one more day to go out there and make some more memories with him.
Man,
No
that,
doubt about
Yeah.
it.
that's awesome, man. That is awesome.
But if
So,
Van Gunn wants to go fishing too, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Either
uh, any day, any day.
yeah, yeah.
so, so guys, make sure you go and follow, subscribe to Justin's YouTube, follow him on all the social medias, and show him love. Make sure you go and tell him that you've seen him on Deck Talk Podcast, and I mean, we're thank you again for coming on.
Yeah.
And Norman, I'm going to end this a little bit different than what we do, because you cannot have the Bassmaster Classic winner come on here and not have him do like what he done on the classic stage and finishes off with a roll tide. So we're going to let, even though I'm a Vandy fan, can we get a roll tie from you?
Roll Tide.
That's right, guys. So have a blessed one, and we will see you later,
Thank y'all
guys.
so
All
much.
right. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes, sir.